What are you looking at? Look at your foot! Hello everybody and welcome back to Citizen Sleeper. I am recording this very soon after uploading the last video because they just dropped the demo for the second game on Steam. So I want to get through this next one and then record the demo before it goes off Steam, and I've got 6 days, so you'll definitely still see this one first, but I will upload the demo probably pretty soon after, so you're gonna get spoiled with Citizen Sleeper content. I would just play the demo first, but I want to make sure that, like, I've finished the first game in its entirety. Because what if, I know we're supposed to be, from what I understand, a different Sleeper, but, like, what if someone shows up that we know? I want to be able to do the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme. So to ensure I'm able to do that, I am going to continue onward, and we're going to see what we can get done. We have to finish the very last episode, which is Purge. It will begin. We need to decide if we're going to present it to Sol or Helen. You get the sense they are dreading the choice. You get the sense they're dreading the choice, and so am I. I still am uncertain. Because in my heart of hearts, I want to tell Sol, like I said last time. But the fact that his solution is to just leave, when this is a problem that could very much continue to follow us, is what worries me and what makes me think that it might not be a good idea. But then again, why should I trust Helen, freaking corporate person, rich punk on this place, and Haven Age is being quiet. Isn't that something that's been mentioned? I could be remembering wrong, but hasn't Haven Age, like, left? Is that because they're letting this happen? Are they letting this spread? I don't know, and I don't like it, so we're going to have to try and figure out what to do. But before that, we've got 2 days. Not enough time for us to get more mushrooms, although we could gather more, and I want to get some money. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and then I'll be back when the 2 cycles are up. Oh, I am flickering something fierce. Oh dear, I thought I had more time. Sleeper, Peake is waiting for you in the corridor. It's time. Peake looks pale and disheveled, with heavy marks under their eyes and strands of hair sticking to their face. Ah, don't say for what. We know for what. I'm not ready, but do we have a choice? Peake holds up a thumbnail-sized drive. All the data I have compiled on the flux event, the effects of the wave, and the structures that hide within it is on here. You look at the tiny drive, a casket of dark secrets. I've annotated it to the best of my ability. Anyone should be able to understand the threat, the potential in this. Peake sighs. It makes for a grim reading. Without intervention, the Eye will suffer a cascading collapse of systems, just like the colonies of Ember's moon. Intervention? Peake grimaces. That I'm still working on. Peake looks at the drive. This shadow in the flux, this protocol, is so hard to pin down. It adapts to any countermeasure I have tried to deploy. It is like trying to hold water in a cage. It slips straight through. There has to be a way. Peake closes their hand around the drive. We need help, Sleeper. This is about everyone on this station. They sigh. We have to set up a meeting to tell someone who can do something about this. I'm gonna stay silent. Or perhaps, Peake adds thoughtfully, we've been thinking about this all wrong. Peake's eyes glint. Yes, can we tell them both? Please, can we tell them both? Why make a choice when we can tell both of them? Yes, that's what I was saying last time! Why pick a side when the only side in this entire thing is the one we all need to take? Peake speaks as they think, their words barely keeping pace with their thoughts. We need to resist this together, or we will fail. We need everyone on board, Sleeper. Peake smiles. That is the only way. We send the data to both. You're right, I absolutely agree. This is what I was saying. Peake smiles. I'm glad you see it too. Oh no, you know who's gonna have a problem with this? I think Esh is gonna have a problem with this. She's like really mad about stuff right now, and she keeps going off on her own. I'm worried. They look away. Another flux event is coming, I'm sure of it. And I'm not sure we can survive this without help. Peake opens their hand and holds the drive out for you to take. You need to do this, Sleeper. I can't. You know Sol, you know Helen. They trust you. To them, I'm just another spacer, but you're a part of this place. Hearing someone else say it hits you hard. You are a part of the Eye. Peake is right. but right now that feels more like a weakness than a strength. That is especially, like, pretty powerful considering the endings that, like, I myself personally see as canon for our character is staying here and making a home for ourselves here. You know, we've got our little workshop that we run with the kid, and we've got Emphis and our friends here. It's like a very big thing. So, like, this is our home. And also, if another Flux event happens, there's a very real chance that we won't turn on again. I've set up the data relay at the cordon. It's neutral ground. Take the data and send it out to Havenage in the flotilla. Once they receive it, they will come. We can be sure of that. You will meet them there and take them through it all. No one could do a better job. They tuck a strand of hair behind their ear. But you're already doing so much work. Will you come with me? I need support. Peake pauses. I can't. It would only draw suspicion on you. Havenage wants nothing to do with us, and Soul is paranoid at best. True, I did have to work really hard to get all of the Ember Moons to trust me. Peake tentatively puts a hand on your shoulder. Thank you, Sleeper. I know this is hard, but we have to move forward. We can't keep this to ourselves anymore. They step back, looking thin and pale in the harsh station light. Come talk to me once it's done. And they slip away into the eye. Okay. Now I'm feeling better. This is what I was saying last time. I was saying we should tell both of them, and now we get to tell both of them. Is that a bad thing? Possibly, because I feel like I'm gonna have to do a lot of work to get them to get along, but Peake is also right. This is a situation that affects both of us very, very much. We can't be, like, petty bitches about this, otherwise we're all gonna die. Or at least I'm gonna die. Maybe everyone else will escape, but like I said, even if we try and run, what if it follows us? It seems like it follows us. So we need to take care of the Flux. And where's the cordon again? Ah, here it is. Oh, once you send the data, episode Purge and the final series of events on the Eye will begin. After this point, you will not be able to return to complete other drives or find other endings. Make sure you're ready. I'm ready. I mean, I'm kind of starving and flickering, but we have money, we have 4 stabilizers, we can do this. So I say, let's just fucking do it. Peake's relay pings a confirmation. The data is sent. Now all you can do is wait for the response. With the data sent, the only thing to do is wait. As you do, you imagine Helene receiving the data, perhaps in the middle of some Havenage council meeting. You think of her trembling hands as she slips out of the room to read it. Her reaction, you can't predict. You imagine Soul, too, one of his crew finding him in some corner of the Pilgrim Seed, overseeing the modifications that will turn into an arc, those sharp eyes scanning the data, looking for a way to proceed. The wait draws out, and to pass the time you watch the activity beyond the edge of the eye, the scrap shuttles pulling components from the now abandoned cordon, and the supply skiffs making runs between the flotilla ships. It isn't long before you hear the chirping of one of Helene's now familiar drones approaching the viewing platform, and then Helene herself strides into the room. Where did you get this, Sleeper? Helene holds up a slate, scrolling with streams of flux data as she enters. I need to know your source. Hello to you too! I'm gonna be a bitch immediately. You didn't bring me here for a reunion, I assume. Helene smiles a thin smile. Then you'll forgive me for skipping the pleasantries. She pauses and pushes her hair back, out of her face. This is a lot to take in. A shadow protocol inside the Flux, the system's comm channel starting up, a total collapse of the eye. She rubs her forehead. If I bring this to the council, they'll... She turns away. I'm not gonna say anything. Do you know what has been happening within Havenage, Sleeper? She looks away, out at the flotilla. Since the refugee ships started arriving, things have changed. It's chaos. No one can settle on a single issue. There's division at every vote. But in the division, only one group prospers, the hardliners. Because as each counselor gets tired of the arguments, gets tired of compromise, they become more attracted to the easy answers. The flotilla is to blame, the refugees are opportunists, the Eye must be defended. She shakes her head. And now you're telling me they brought something to the Eye that will cause its collapse? They didn't bring it! It doesn't matter, Sleeper. That is all the counselors will hear. She closes her eyes, a hand to her temple. Many of them already presume that the refugees are somehow to blame. Did someone say refugees? Soul clanks into the docking bay, grinning at the situation. Speak of the devil and, well, here I am. His suit hisses as he settles on his cane. Helene glances between the two of you, uncertain as if she has been drawn into some sort of elaborate plan, like a random intervention. Soul holds out a hand to her. Soul, he nods. I believe we have spoken remotely while the cordon was still up. We're all allies here. I'm gonna try and make that very clear off the bat. This isn't some random plan. Well, it's kind of a plan. Shit. It's kind of a plan, but it's a plan to bring everyone together. Please? Friendship is magic. Soul raises an eyebrow. That seems a little bit presumptuous, doesn't it? I trust you, Sleeper, but Haven Age has been the one seeking to hold us without charge or good reason. I'm not Haven Age, Helene blurts out, and then corrects herself. What I mean to say is, no one person represents Haven Age. That's the idea. I did not support the cordon, and I did not support your quarantine. Soul nods. Well then. Soul glances at you. Anyone mind if I get myself up to speed here? He pauses, but you get the feeling he isn't expecting an answer. 1. The flux events, the very same destabilizing waves that collapsed the colonies on the moons of Ember, have reached the station. He holds up one stubby finger. 2. According to the data the Sleeper provided, these events are acting as a cover for some kind of intrusive protocol which is causing the real damage. A second finger joins the first. 3. This shadow protocol will do the very same thing it did to Ember's song, step, and hearth, and quickly. In short, it'll shut down everything keeping this place alive. A third finger pops up. 4. And this is my favorite. We have no idea who or what is doing this and why. Soul's final finger joins the other 3. Is that about the total of it all? Oh yeah, there's another one that's gonna come. Of course there is. Soul smiles thinly. Sounds... Helene pauses, searching for words. Intimidating. Helene turns to Soul. Did you manage to put up any kind of resistance on Ember's hearth? Soul shakes his head. That's why we're here. The Pilgrim Seed was the biggest ship to make it out unscathed. He pauses. I suppose we didn't have this data. We didn't know what was eating up the systems. We all thought it was the flux. Helene looks at you. And I imagine you, Sleeper, and whoever helped you uncover this might be able to find a countermeasure? We could try. I don't know for sure. I'll say it. I don't know. I'll be very honest, because we don't know. Helene glances away. That's okay. We can try. I like your enthusiasm. If you'll forgive me, Soul cuts in. Part of why I was able to save as many as I could on Ember's hearth was that I gave up hope early. Soul shifts his weight, his suit hissing. There were endless strategy meets, system reboots, tests, and trials, but I just got on with working on the Pilgrim Seed, with getting people on board, so when the second and the third and the rest of the flux events hits, we were ready to go. Yeah, but you didn't know about the thing that we know about now. I mean, it's good to be prepared for that situation, but now we know more. So, if I can offer you some advice, Miss Not Haven Age, it is to give up on that line of thought you have, that hope, and to start the evacuation now, right this cycle. Soul looks out at the observation deck towards the Pilgrim Seed. I've already started the process of converting the remaining volume of the Pilgrim Seed for human habitation. With Haven Age resources, I dare say we could finish the job with time to spare. Soul scratches at his beard. I know it's hard, and I know it's sudden, but you have to give up hope. We have to run. There will be no heroes here, just those that keep living, and those that don't. This is exactly why I didn't want to tell Soul. This is what made me hesitate. Helene listens in silence, making calculations. She looks out at the bulk of the Pilgrim Seed, which, despite all its vastness, is dwarfed by the eye as a whole. It couldn't fit everyone. Something flickers in her eyes. She opens her mouth to speak. She stops, frozen. Let me think. Helene rubs her temple. I need a moment. Helene paces, and as you watch her, you realize how young she is, and how lost she is in the systems and protocols she has to navigate. You can almost see the strings and ties that bind her, glinting like webs in the wide space of the observation platform. We purge this shadow protocol. I don't believe that evacuating the Eye will fix things. If it followed them from Ember's hearth and the other Ember moons, then there's a good chance it will follow us from the Eye. There's no chance. Even if we give up hope, what's to say it won't happen again and again and again and again? Like, I keep saying this. We purge the shadow protocol. We have to. There has to be a way to stop it. It's coming from somewhere. Helene stops pacing. But with what resources? The data you sent me. This thing is a shadow. Uncontrollable. Untraceable. Perhaps with the full contingent of the Haven Age Systems Department, but that would require hundreds of work orders to be overlooked, maintenance schedules abandoned. She looks away. Getting that through the council. Would that even be possible? She glances at Soul, who is patiently watching, patiently listening. We do it without them? I mean, I don't want to do it with them. It seems like they're gonna fight us on this, but what if we do it without them? But, their help would be useful, but who's to say that they wouldn't take advantage of this situation? We do it without them. Impossible. Helen looks at the slate again. I will take this to the council. Force them to listen. Force them to act. Ooh! You both jump as someone loudly clears their throat nearby. Your eyes jump to the dark entryway that Helen emerged from just minutes ago. Oh shit, who the fuck are you? Oh, you're a hardline. What a cozy little meeting this is. A man steps from the shadows, dressed in the same style of Haven Age overalls as Helen. And I must say, that is some very incendiary rhetoric you're using, Counselor Helen. Okay, it's a good thing she said that I'm gonna take it to the council and didn't agree with me. This would be really bad. He was listening, his eyes straight up was like, what if we do anarchy? You glance at Helen and her face drops immediately. Kemp, she curses under her breath. Sol shifts his weight on his cane but otherwise remains still, like a casual observer. Plotting against Haven Age with an interloper, he gestures at Sol. Everyone will be so disappointed. Kemp smiles a bright smile. Some of the counselors had such high hopes for our youngest member. His smile drops. I, of course, never let novelty distract from the importance of experience. Helen stares daggers at Kemp. Enough of this petty shit, Kemp. You need to see this. She holds out her slate with an outstretched arm. The games are over. No more point scoring, no more lobbying. You and your hardliners need to stop. This is something real. Kemp calmly takes the slate and prods the screen, scrolling through the flux data. His face betrays nothing, but you see some complex calculation flickering in his sharp eyes. Kemp lowers the slate slowly and smiles at Helen. And what do you think this shows? Helen frowns. Don't play games. You can read. The flux is a carrier signal for some shadow protocol, most likely corporate in nature. Maybe it's Solheim re-emerging to claim their station. Maybe it's a takeover. But either way, the station is under threat. You're right about that. But the rest? Conjecture. Kemp rubs his chin. What we have is a virus in our systems which emerged precisely when the flotilla arrived. In fact, it times perfectly with the mysterious event that freed them. So what I see is a hostile cyber warfare attack instigated by dissidents that fled Ember's moons after committing terrorist attacks on their own soil. Kemp's face darkens. That is the order of the facts. Nothing more, nothing less. Ah, so you're the type of person who creates their own narrative so that they can continue benefiting from a bad situation even when the people around them who are suffering die out. Kemp! Facts I'll be happy to present to the council. Kemp tightens his grip on the slate. Helen laughs. You think that's the only copy of the data? You sanctimonious shit? No, I don't, Kemp smiles. But who do you think they'll listen to, Helen? Especially after I tell everyone about this little clandestine meeting. Shoot him! Shoot him! You couldn't win power by Haven Age systems, by our laws, so you resort to this. Kemp shakes his head. The law's with me. It's as simple as that. He gestures, and out of the shadows appear 2 Haven Age security officers! No need for that, Sol suddenly speaks up. His silence had meant Kemp had stopped paying attention to him, but now you notice he has backup of his own. The group of his crew stand at the edge of the room. They're carrying long, boxy guns. Esch's guns? You've never seen anything like them on the eye. Glossy XPR— I was right! Glossy XPR logos glint along their barrels. These are Esch's guns! Kemp freezes and the officers hesitate, holding back in the doorway. Be careful there, outsider, he stutters. Kill me and Haven Age will never forget. Sol waves a hand at him. No one is killing anyone, so let's calm down. Sol scratches his beard. But I am going to have to ask you to leave. Helen glances at him and he gives her a gentle nod. And you'll leave your colleagues here with me. He raises an eyebrow. We haven't finished our conversation. Oh, this is bad, this is bad, this is really, really bad. Kemp laughs and shakes his head. You're finished, Helen. The council will never allow you to back after this. He then turns and walks out of the observation deck, taking his officers with him. You all pause to catch your breath. Helen looks ready to collapse. Sol flexes inside his suit, nodding at his crew to check that Kemp had fully retreated. Sol wrenches part of his suit back into place, grimacing. Your friends leave a lot to be desired. He shoots a glance at Helen. Seems like support for the evacuation might be hard to ask. Helen doesn't respond. She stares out at the Pilgrim Seed once more. trying to process what's in front of her. She sighs and turns back to you both. I won't call for an evacuation. She looks at Sol. Maybe that is a fatal mistake, but I can't do it. I understand. But, she pauses, I won't block it either. If people want to leave, Haven Age will let them. That is what I will propose to the council. She sighs. If they let me speak. I'm not gonna say you have to do more. While I feel like there is more that can be done, Helena's in a really bad situation right now. I think even if she could, even if she wants to do more, which I'm sure she does, she can't, especially with Kemp breathing down her neck, so I'm just gonna say you have to try. She nods at you and Sol and turns to leave. Sol is quiet. He scratches at his beard. Good luck. He offers the departing Helene, but she does not respond. He leans on his cane. I'll be honest with you, Sleeper. None of this changes anything for me. The Pilgrim Seed will be going in a handful of cycles whether Haven Age wants it to or not. You can't abandon the... How long? I'll just ask how long. I'm trying not to be aggressive about this. We're trying to fix things. Sol grimaces. Honestly, as soon as we're ready. I'm not eager to run down the clock to the last cycle. Sol puts a hand on your shoulder. There's a berth for you, and for any you can gather, Sleeper. That much I owe you. And Helene? I wouldn't hold out much hope for her coming around, Sleeper. She's too tied up in all of this. It won't let her leave even if she wants to. He eyes you. Hell, I'd say the same about you, but you have a habit of proving me wrong. I don't think I can leave. I don't think I can leave if there's something I can do. My crew will take me from here. Don't you worry. His soul straightens up. Oh, and thank you, Sleeper, for sending the data. I appreciate the extra info, and I'll see if it can help us shore up the Pilgrim Seed against any future flux events. If we had you back on Ember's hearth... He pauses, suddenly losing his appetite for discussing the past. Sol sighs. Of course we're going to need all the help we can get. If you can spare some time, come to the Pilgrim Seed. Help me get it ready. Bring others. There's a future to be earned here, cycle by cycle. We will be leaving as soon as we're able. If you want to help us get there faster, well, you'd be welcome. He meets your eye. Sol grimaces. Well, he pauses. Just don't keep me waiting. And he limps off towards his waiting crew. You pause for a moment to let your thoughts catch up. Peake will want to hear about all of this. They should be your first port of call. Yes, we definitely need to talk to Peake. We have to talk to Peake. We have to talk to Peake. I don't know what to do. I'm not leaving the Eye, that's for sure. A captain goes down with their ship. But I don't think leaving is the right option, but I feel like I could do both. I know that, like, Spider-Verse, I can do both. I know that that's risky, but we've done a lot of stuff we've done a lot of multitasking with other parts of these episodes in the past. I think, like I said before, we can prepare the Pilgrim Seed to get ready, right? But we should also be working on getting this Purge taken care of. And I think the Purge takes precedent, unfortunately. But also, so does evacuating people. I don't know. There's so much going on. I need to talk to Peake. Ash, they have your guns. Oh, no. As you enter the climbing briar, you immediately have to jump aside as Ash, lugging a massive crate across the cargo bay, pushes past you, grunting an apology as she does. Grunt back. Oh no. Aw, that's sweet. Reminds me of when we met. Ash sniffs and doesn't look back. As you turn back to the bay, Peake pushes past you. Sorry, Sleeper. Just a second. Peake rushes to catch up with Ash. Put that down, please, Ash. But she doesn't respond to their urging. Oh, they're still fighting. Mom and Parent are fighting. We can't leave. Not yet. Peake puts a hand on her shoulder. Please, I'm the only one here who can... The crate drops, the sound of its impact echoing around the bay like thunder. Can do what, Peake? Her eyes are burning with anger. Save this place? Are you still that naive? We're running, Peake. We're running because this thing cannot be stopped. It couldn't be stopped at XPR, our home. Why would we stay to stop it here? Wait! XPR got fluxed? Because we can, Ash. We can give these people a chance. Peake pleads with her. Like they gave the refugees a chance? Ash shakes her head. No, Peake. This is not on us. We barely made it out of XPR. I worked for years to escape, and now you want to throw it all away? I left everything behind. My mother, my friends, to take you out of that place. She clenches her jaw. She turns and slams her hand onto the crate, breathing hard. We go. That's the end of it. Peake turns away. You feel unsure what to do, but you know now is not the time for outside arguments. This is between them. Peake crosses the bay back towards you. I'm sorry you had to see that, Sleeper. They sigh. Let's talk upstairs. Peake leads you up the entry ladder, taking you out of the bay and into the habitation level of the ship. You follow them through the tight corridors, noticing the handwritten notes, the clutters, the repair, the signs of a home. Here, sit. Peake gestures to the broad mess table with its curved couches, and you slide it on one side. Peake sits opposite. They brush their hair out of their eyes and take a deep breath. So, how did it go? What did they say? I've been waiting all cycle. I'll tell them about Kemp. That's the most important part right here. Helen was willing to work with us and would have been able to do something except Kemp followed her. Peake looks increasingly troubled as you tell them about the hardliner counselor Kemp's sudden appearance. Damn, then Helen's going to have problems of her own to deal with. Peake shakes their head. Looks like we won't be able to count on anything from Haven Age. They pause. What stopped Kemp from arresting her? Oh no, this is gonna start another argument. Please don't fight with Mom. Peake rolls their eyes. Of course. Those are the guns Esh managed to smuggle through to the refugees. The ones she didn't tell us about. Peake sighs. Another thing that's on us. I wouldn't say that's on you or me, but you know what? That's besides the point. What's on us? Esh is standing quietly in the doorway listening. You don't know how long she's been there for. People need to stop eavesdropping. Peake looks up at her with tired eyes. Sleeper found the weapons that you smuggled from XPR. Esh freezes. She glances between you and Peake, as if this might be some elaborate joke. The flotilla used them. She moved out of the doorway and enters the room. What happened? Peake interrupts. Be thankful that they didn't. They used them as a threat, that's all. But that's gonna be brought up in the council meeting. Kemp's gonna use it against them, even though they were just defending themselves. Good. Esh folds her arms. You get the feeling that she knows Peake will not approve. Peake goes to speak, and then decides not to take the bait. They glance at you. I'm sure you heard enough of us arguing this cycle, Sleeper. Peake shoots a look at Esh. But our introductions of those weapons into the equation are just another reason why we cannot simply run away. Esh looks away, but says nothing. She surely knows they cannot absolve themselves of responsibility here, so what is motivating her? You realize that she still might be trying to protect Peake, even from themselves. Peake is old enough to make their own decisions. They're an adult, and this is something that we're directly responsible for, whether we want to or not. Our aid and our help is, like, part of this now. And I'm not leaving. A sudden shrill beeping fills the room, and Peake pulls out their slate to silence it. But as they do, they freeze, their finger hovering above the screen, the beeping continuing its insistent pulse. Oh no, another flux? What? Peake doesn't seem to hear you. They blink with glazed eyes at the slate. Then they let out a long exhale and tap the screen. The bleeping shuts off, leaving a ringing silence behind. Esh frowns at Peake. Planning to explain? 12 cycles. Peake looks vacantly up at you both. 12 cycles until the next flux event. They shake their head. I've been using the arrays of the Briar to look towards the center of the system, to approximately where the con channel should be. Just this moment they detected a signal from the inner system. Given the distance and patterns of previous flux events, we have 12 cycles before it reaches the eye. The silence in the room is deafening. 12 cycles. That's it. Before a second wave hits in this place. Peake interrupts your thoughts. We start now. That's the end of it. Peake stands up and turns to face Esh. You want to take the Briar and run, Esh? That's on you. But I won't do it. They take a deep breath. I'll be here, Sleeper, for every cycle it takes trying to find a solution. I'll need your help. Their eyes meet yours, and you see a wild desperation flickering there. We will find something. The sooner we plan, the better. If it takes us 12 cycles to fix this thing, it'll be too late. Peake's eyes flash with determination. They reach for a slate and pass it to you, so we keep in touch. You pocket the thin handheld terminal. And Esh. Peake starts, but she's gone, storming down the corridors of a ship on a path to who knows where. You know from experience that it is impossible to outrun your fears, but you get a sense that Esh will try anyway. Peake rubs their red eyes, staring at Esh. Maybe I'll take a moment before we start. They smile weakly, tears of exhaustion gathering in their eyes. See you back here soon, okay? And you slip from the room into the corridor, Peake's quiet sobs somehow carrying through the ship behind you as you leave. That's a real tough situation. That's really tough because they're best friends. They've been through so much together and now they're going down different paths. Oh god. Peake is tirelessly analyzing the flux data, testing countermeasures on the shadow protocol. They need your help. Okay, I can do both. I have good rolls. You know what? We can turn both of these into 6s. I might be able to get this done now. Yes. Because if we could come up with a plan now, that'll make things better, easier in the long run. So let's do this first, because this is what I want to do. Because I have a feeling, like I said before, that this is gonna follow us. Peake beckons you over to the wide mess table where they set up a terminal. The hours of bleary-eyed work have left you both drained, and Peake looks ready to collapse. You slide into the curved couch beside them, something dark and malevolent filling their screen like an oil stain. I'm sick of looking at this thing! The Shadow Protocol. Not quite. Peake's eyes seem to glitter in the screen light. This isn't what you think, Sleeper. Not by a long shot. You look again at the screen, leaning in close to the dark, curved shape to see its texture. You see whorls and currents like a river, a dark flow unlike the Shadow Protocol's dark tangle. You know exactly what this is. You've swum in this river, almost drowned in its shifting flow. It is the Gardener's Chorus, the dark cloud which blankets the Greenway's networks, the bioorganic morass of a malfunctioning protocol grown vast and strange. I know this place. Peake glances at you. I thought you might have seen it, covering the Greenway like a shroud. You don't understand. In another life, I became part of it. Peake meets your eye. Everything I have tried to do to contain the Shadow Protocol has been a failure. It slips through any containment, absorbs any countermeasure. That, unfortunately, is an unavoidable fact. And yet the eye still spins. The Shadow Protocol is being slowed, partially contained. It is spread across the station as we have seen, but in reduced pockets, in fragments. So I started to look outside of our test cases, outside of these fragments we've been poking and prodding in our little lab. Peake smiles, and look what I found. Peake taps a key on their terminal, and you realize the screen is showing a recording of the data flow inside the eye's networks, sampled from hundreds of points around the Greenway. You watch as a subtle shift occurs at the edge of the flowing dark curve that blankets the Greenway, something spreading like an ink stain. Somehow darker than black, it bleeds across the Shadow Protocol. Now watch. Peake eagerly points at the screen. You see something strange, a fizzing at the edge of the shadow, a sparking, and then it's gone. And beneath, for a moment, a millisecond, you see into the networks of the Greenway. You are reminded of an image you had forgotten, of pulling a plant from its pot and seeing a bone-white root ball where you expected to see dark soil. The white connections writhe like worms, and then it's gone, the dark flow closing up as quickly as it had opened. It dissolved the shadow? Exactly, Peake nods. It protected itself. You think back to your meeting with the gardener, to that sense of something old and world and inhuman to its core. Peake excitedly starts to explain. This is the only chance we have, the only countermeasure we've seen. In the moment it opened, I detected something, a centralized intelligence with the local ID Gardener. This protocol, this system, whatever it is, can protect its network from the Shadow Protocol. But if it stays in the Greenway, the eye will still fall. The station systems are too exposed, too spread across the hub, the shipyards, the spokes. Peake glances away. The only way to break it open, to spread the entity's network across it, expand it somehow? Peake pauses. I've been inside there, Peake. I'm just gonna drop that. Peake pauses, trying to read your expression. And this gardener, can they help us? Maybe. They did make those mushrooms for me to eat, right? You try to remember what that strange being said to you, but all you remember is the feeling of dissolving into that network, the heady mix of growth and decay, the ceaselessness of it. Would they protect the station, or would they simply dissolve it? They might. Peake stands up and walks away a little. They lean against the countertop, their head hanging so low that their long hair touches the work surface. You hear them breathing deeply. I don't know, Sleeper. They lift their head. I really don't know. It's a chance? Maybe. They shake their head. You know as well as Peake that this is it. You know it because over the past cycles you have run every simulation, every possibility you could think of and still come up with nothing. You've stared a hole into your screen and dreamt of that black shadow creeping in at the edges of your vision. Peake recognizes the look in your eyes, the potent cocktail of resignation and anger. Let's say we do this, Peake begins, eyeing you carefully. What do we need? They begin to answer their own question, thinking out loud. I suppose we'd need to do two things. To find a way to limit or control the gardener's spread, and then reconnect the Greenway. Peake starts pacing, their ideas coming quickly now. Controlling the spread means preparing the station, limit the gardener's network to key systems. We don't want it taking everything, we just need it to protect the station's core functionality. Then we need to reconnect the Greenway. Hook it back up to the main line of the network. Those systems we prepared, they should connect, and the gardener will spread along the paths we prepared. At least, that's my theory. Peake grimaces. But if we don't prepare correctly, the gardener might not spread, or it might spread to everything. Peake closes their eyes, and after that, things might get worse. It can't be worse than a total collapse. Don't say it, Sleeper. Sorry. Peake sits back in the terminal and brings up a map of the eye. Rotational control at the hub, life support at the free spoke, power routing at the Haven Age shipyards. They stab at the map with each one, marking them in red. Then there's the central core, as I understand it, somewhere on the rim. I'd need to find it. They push their hair out of their face. We need to seed the gardener in all these places. Peake pauses. But how are we going to do that? Transplant the greenway or bait the gardener's attention? Maybe we can transplant it? Where there's plants, the gardener will follow, right? Peake smiles. Of course! The gardener needs plants to care for. That is what their protocol dictates. They must have been part of the farming management systems of the Eye back when Solheim built it. We seed greenway plants into those systems and the gardener will seek them out, protect them. Peake stares at the map of the Eye. It's a wild idea, but it could work. But... They pause. We'll need a way into those systems. Haven Age will have most of them locked down for safety purposes. We can't walk in. I know a guy! Aw, yeah, he's back! Peake raises an eyebrow. Someone in the Haven Age systems team? You nod. After everything he dragged you through, you feel like Fang still owes you. He definitely does. Time to pay him a visit. Okay, well... Peake looks at you sideways. I guess we should pay him a visit. Lead the way. You both leave the ship, carried forward by the excitement of the plan and an eagerness to not look at the details too closely. Yeah, let's hold on to that hope while we can. You push any lingering questions to the back of your mind. Time to head for Fang's Bay. Okay, so we're doing that. Let me check something else, though. Pilgrim Seed. Okay. The Pilgrim Seed will take the majority of the evacuees off the Eye, but is there enough time for them to settle them all? We should probably work on this too, huh? But I want to wait. Let's see what Fang wants first. What do we need to do to get Fang to help us? Because I don't know if he's going to be nice and be like, yeah, okay, I owe you, or if he's going to be like, why should I do this? But I mean, there is a very good reason why. Fang! Oh my fucking god, Fang. Really? Boy. Fine. I'll work on this, and I'll work on Pilgrim. Fucking Fang. Can't make it easy on me, can ya? Alright, let's sleep. We shall sleep. I'll take a... You know what? This is the last thing we're ever doing. Let's take a stabilizer. I made them for this. Oh, I should eat. I should eat, too. So if I do it right, it should only take 2 of our things to find Fang, and then we can use the rest to help with Pilgrim. I just don't want them to dip. But maybe it's good if they dip, just in case I fuck up. Because there's still a chance I fuck up, depending on our rolls. Okay, stabilizer, in. Food, 8. Sleep, now. Hotel, Trivago. Do. Everything's gonna be okay. That's my daily affirmation for myself and for this bullshit. We can do it. That's the wrong place. Fang's Bay. Come on, Fang, show your fucking face. Alright, and then let's do this one. It's a 50-50. Should I just... Let me try. Ayy! We'll do this one. There we go. You dig around Fang's Bay and find some notes that mention the flux. What is he working on? He's working on it too? Or he's doing something with it. That's it. No more wasting time. Peake sighs and pulls out their slate. They crack open a box on the side of the bay's shutter and wire the slate to what's inside. Hacking mode activated. Maybe your friend has a Haven Age pass card or something inside. Peake shoots you a glance. Something they wouldn't mind if we borrow. Let's wait. Peake doesn't look up. We haven't gotten time to wait. They sigh. Coming here was a mistake. After a few tense moments, the shutter jerks and begins grinding open, the noise making you jump. Let's get inside. Peake glances around. Quickly. You slip into the dark of the bay, punctuated by the blinking lights of Fang's piles of servers, somehow even more disordered than before. Peake makes a beeline for the desk at the center, scattered with tools and components. They flick a lamp and stare at the mess. Are you sure this person can help us? Yes, absolutely. You're interrupted by the sound of footsteps at the entrance. Someone has come behind you. Peake freezes. I swear I closed the shutter when I left. Fang leans on a stack of servers near the entrance. Must be getting forgetful. He grins at you. Sloppy. I'm the one who makes the jokes, Sleeper. Fang smiles. Don't start. Fang raises an eyebrow. Thought you'd come rob an old friend? Is that the plan? We need your help. Fang nods. You're here about the flux. Peake nods and is suddenly giving Fang their full attention. Fang smiles, pleased with himself. I guessed as much. Okay, don't brag about it. I saw changes in the old system architectures almost immediately. Some of them have been running since the first days of the station, and so when I saw new patterns, shifts in logic, I knew something must have happened. These past cycles I've been doing a total inventory of the core systems, from the hub to the rim. He grins. I'm surprised myself, to be honest. Didn't think I had it in me. Peake seems unamused. And what did you find? Fang sighs. That's the thing. There's something all twisted up in the systems and protocols. But every time I look at it, it disappears, Peake finishes. Fang turns to you. Do they always do that? Peake ignores him. It's a shadow protocol. It masks itself somehow, bedding into the gaps between the systems in the negative space. It is slowly filling every system in the station, slowly taking over, and we need to stop it. You need to grant us access to all the core systems of the station. Rotational control, life support. Fang holds up a hand. Whoa, slow down there. I don't even know your name. Fang shakes his head. And you're asking for the keys to the castle? It can't be done. You can trust Peake. Fang pauses and glances between both of you. How long have you known this one, Sleeper? I know I owe you, but I also know that you trust too easily. Sorry to say it. I mean, he does have a point. I tried to be nice to Ethan and ended up almost dying and having to murder someone, so maybe I do trust a little too easily, but I trust Peake. I know that's, like, hypocritical, but, like, Peake is staying and Peake is trying to fix things and take responsibility for the things that they've done. I think that is, like, honest and respectable and a reason to trust them. Peake cuts in. I can vouch for myself. I came to the Eye on the run from the XPR colony Hawthorne, with the intent to keep running until we hit the Starward Belt. But since I have been here, I have done everything in my power to protect this place. I've helped to stabilize the refugee flotilla, to investigate the flux, to identify and make a plan to purge the shadow protocol from the station system. Meanwhile, Haven Age has done everything to stop and slow these actions. I've proven myself as a friend to the people of the station, not the administration, many times over. And I will not be doubted by someone who wears the badge of this corrupt administration. Peake fixes Fang with a hard look. Fang looks down at his Haven Age jacket and shrugs. This is all I have in my wardrobe. Look, I have no love for the council either, friend, but someone has to run this place, and that someone is me. Fang walks over to the workbench where you're both standing and digs out a slate from the pile of tools. You want to prove yourself? Show me. Fang, we don't have time! Peake grabs the slate and you recognize the tangled form of a flux node on the screen. Peake immediately starts tapping away at it, its tendrils unwinding in the shadow, just slightly delayed, slipping out of sight. Fang leans in. Interesting, he says to himself. Before long, Peake has unfolded the system completely, and it lies splayed out like an unwound ball of string. At the center, with nowhere left to hide, is the dark stain of the shadow protocol, visible for all to see. What now? Fang asks, his eyes fixed on the screen. How do you kill it? I'll let Peake answer. They need to prove themselves. Not to me. There's one entity on the station that we have seen purging the shadow, the Gardener. Fang frowns. Who's that? Some Greenway hacker? Peake glances at you. More like an avatar of the Greenway itself. You explain the Gardener to Fang, the feeling of descending into the flowing river of consciousness. You explain the networked chorus, the non-human collective of voices. You tell him of the farming AI's offer to you, to be networked into the chorus, dissolved into its flow. Then you explain that by granting it access to the AI's major networks, you hope to reinforce them. Fang is silent for a moment. And you want to let this thing out? He shakes his head. That's the kind of stupid plan I dream up, so that's exactly why it will work, right? Right? He pauses. I like it. He smiles. This place is rammed with weird protocols and forgotten intelligences anyway. What's one more ghost in the machine? We try to limit it, of course, Peake explains. That's why we want your help to access the Eye's major systems, to seed some of the Gardener's spores into them, to draw the Gardener's focus to those places. Fang whistles. So the way we save the Eye is by growing mushrooms in all the server stacks? He glances at you. Sleeper, congratulations, you found someone weirder than you. Hey! I'd argue I'm still weirder. Peake goes to argue, but Fang holds up a hand. In it is an All Systems Haven Age pass card with his picture on it. Take it, before I change my mind. I'm not gonna question it, thank you! Don't mention it, Fang gives you a look. In all honesty, Sleeper, I was on my way back here to start tearing the place down. The Shadow Protocol had me spooked, so if you're telling me you've figured out a way we might fight it... He looks at Peake. No matter how crazy, then I'm glad to help. He smiles a tight smile. Come with us! No, Sleeper, no one wants to hang out with me! He looks away. I have to keep on my own work here. Strengthen those systems, back up the data. The worst comes to worst, I'll need to rebuild. I won't let this place die. The last pieces of my parents are here, among the data. Goodbye, Fang. Fang embraces you firmly. Stay safe, Sleeper. You take the card and leave the bay with Peake. Once you're on the outside, they stop you. We should split up. Peake looks worried. We've wasted enough time as it is. Head to the facilities in the hub, the free spoke, and the far side of the shipyard. Seed the gardener there. I'm going to find the core control center that's somewhere on the rim. They hold up their slate. I'll send you a message on your slate when I have something. Good luck. They squeeze your shoulder, and you exchange fearful looks. You know, deep down, that Peake isn't sure this will work, but they've decided to act, to move with confidence, and for that confidence, you're very thankful. Good. I am very thankful. Peake is honestly becoming one of my favorite characters. I love them a lot. Okay, so let's see. Are these what I'm looking for? No, Haven Age Agent, Yadigan Agent. What exactly am I looking for? Oh, life support. What do we have to do here? We need spores! Got it. I can do that. I can do that. When are my spores ready? Well, no, not my spores, my mushrooms. Mushrooms are ready next. I can collect spores with this. This will take this to a 4, which is pretty alright. I don't mind using our bad rolls if there's a chance that we can get stuff. We need to get started now. This is not something we can wait on. Okay. Should I do it again? I should at least start helping them a little bit, just in case. I feel like we can do this, but just in case. Wait. I have to do 3, right? I have to do 3? Wait, was something red on theirs? I'm losing my mind. Okay, no. They're just not prepared at all because I'm not helping, which I feel kind of bad about, but... Okay, so we've got... Which ones? This is a greenway, so I don't think there's anything to do here. We've got the one by the spoke. This baby. Then we go up. Is there anything up here? There is one up here. How many do each of them need? They only need 1. Okay, so I should be able to do it right now, right? Let me find the other one. I think we should be able to do this. Okay, power routing. Let's start right here. The garden is implanted, now it must grow. Okay? That's 1. 2. Now it must grow. Last one. Thank goodness I have everything set up already. This is why it's like, hey, this is late game. Please do other stuff before you get here. The garden is implanted. Alright. As you leave, the slate Peake gives you chirps insistently. You check and see a message. Found possible entry to core facility in the low end. Meet me here ASAP, Peake. A blinking mark gives you their position as on the free spoke side of the main block. Better head to the low end. Okay. This is like the main thing I'm focusing on. I know I should be helping, but I want to try and get this to a point where, like, I'll be able to work on both. You arrive at the coordinates given by Peake's slate, a run-down but active corner of the low end where a short glass-roofed alley turns off from one of the main thoroughfares. You wait in the mouth of the alley, leaning against the wall and watching the street life go by. Children hop across grids scratched into metal floor plates, playing games of their own devising, while older residents sit and talk or play tabla. It's hard to believe that all this is at threat. It seems so concrete, so real. How can some intangible protocol erase all this? As you're watching, a voice calls out to you from one of the tabla tables set up along the way. It's you, Castor! Long time no see! You move a little closer and recognize the sitting player immediately. Caster sits, tabla pieces and board ready in front of him, smiling at you. Sleeper, my partner's not arrived for our usual game. Please, come take her place. He beckons you over, standing and nudging you to sit down with him. A rematch is in order. You owe me a game. You're gonna destroy me again, but I have a feeling you know stuff. Almost immediately, Caster begins the game. Everyone on the eye knows how to play tabla. The methodical movement of the counters across their triangular points already fit for the rhythm of life on the ramshackle space station. Most games begin the same way, with each player moving with independence, focused on only achieving their optimal early game setup. But there's a moment in each game where it becomes necessary to notice the other player, to anticipate the crossing of counters across the board, a point of contact when routine becomes negotiation and negotiation becomes conflict. Symbolism? As this moment arrives, the subtle shift in the texture of the interaction, Caster begins to speak. I find myself surprised by you continually, Sleeper. He looks over his glasses at you. The way you conduct yourself, for example, suggests an anxious refrain, a defensive, protective quality, but in your tabla game, he pauses to move a counter. I see only risk. I think this is a very coded conversation. So I'm just gonna stay silent. Risk is, of course, necessary to play tabla. To move a piece is to expose it, but it should be done with calculation, with proper analysis. Then, if the piece is taken, Caster moves a counter, taking one of yours with a practice swap, placing it beside the board. It is already accounted for. But you move forward with abandon, as if risk was just a secondary effect of an action, a consequence, not its primary guide. He gestures for you to take your turn. A cause. Silently play. I'm gonna just stay quiet. He'll say what he'll say. Caster nods. See what I mean? Risky in play, but defensive in move. He smiles. You move your piece. This locks you into being reactive, if you don't mind me saying so. You're responding with which means you are being led. He leans back to consider the board. This place, it mirrors you, Sleeper. It is also reactive. It was born from a crisis, the collapse of Solheim, and ever since it has been reacting without any central guiding principle. No analysis, no calculation. Just look at our refugee crisis, for example. It is all reaction, all risk-taking and little risk calculation. At first I found the chaos enlivening, especially when trying to track its outcomes, but now I find it exhausting. He laughs. It always amuses me that this place is literally spun from the rim. Below this very stack of habitation blocks is the most important control facility on the eye. Spun from the rim, he laughs again. What better metaphor could you find for disorder? His face drops. But why am I telling you that? That facility is precisely why you're here. He smiles, an unsettlingly warm smile. Ooh! You feel a shiver in your body, as if something has changed in the air. Just leave? I know how he knows about that. He's a data fence, but what is this? Yeah, what is this? Is this a warning? No words come out of your mouth. You feel removed from yourself, watching from beyond frosted glass. Your eyes dart side to side. Inertia sets in. Caster is still smiling. The risk you're planning to take here, Sleeper, is not yours to take. Caster's tone is unshifted. He speaks as if this is still some casual conversation between passing acquaintances. You're leaping towards a chaotic outcome with no respect for risk. You see, calculating outcomes, that's my specialty. That's why I'm here. I was hired as a conduit for risk, as a collector of data that might pertain to its arrival. He removes his glasses to clean them, and you see something flicker across their surface, a shimmering stream of characters. This system, this station, is already theirs. Solheim's collapse meant a corporate fire sale. Assets changed hands. My employers, Senate-Stat, bought out the entire system, and for the past decades have been its one valid owner. He polished his glasses diligently. But to possess the system, the H1 system, he pauses, Helion to you, well, that is a matter of risk, of how much force, how much cost, how much conflict a clearance would take. He replaces his glasses. That risk must be calculated against the favorable outcome. In short, how much this place is worth to us. For a long time, that answer was nothing. H1 could offer nothing that would warrant the risk, but the markets change, the demands shift, and Senate-Stat, we analyze, we follow, we respond. He puts his glasses back on his face. H1 is about to become the most important system in this part of the galaxy. He glances around. The lone con channel operating within a range of 7 or so newly surveyed resource-rich systems. The frontier town that feeds the gold rush, so to speak. So you're responsible for this? Or you work for the people responsible for it? So here we are, reevaluating the risk, reclaiming our property, starting up the comm channel and clearing the way for what comes next. He sits back, looking at the board. He gestures. Your move. I don't think he'll care. That's the sad part. I think if I even tell him, he's not gonna care. Or maybe he will? I don't know what his game is here. So I'm just gonna take my move. You go to lift a piece and something glints across Castor's glasses. You feel the slowness, the inertia begin to lessen. You move your piece, taking one of Castor's exposed counters. He nods. Of course, I do not need to explain myself to you, but in the role as an analyst, in my calculations, I see great promise in you, and your ability to enter systems, to shift them to your will. If you're asking me to work with you in Senate Stat, the answer is no. Not every sleeper has this capacity. I assume you know that. He smiles. It truly is wonderful happenstance of SNRP's technology. I imagine even they are not fully aware of it. He takes his move, claiming another of your pieces, and as you watch, you realize the inevitability of his victory. I will make you an offer, to come willingly or come by force. The station will collapse, we can be sure of that, but your ability to work with data, wealth for an analyst, that is very intriguing. He pauses to push his glasses up with his nose. Very intriguing indeed. Peake, help me! I'm gonna get kidnapped! He glances around. Come with me as a collaborator or as a prisoner. Consider the risk. On one hand, almost certain death, and on the other, a possible future. Analyst or not, you must see it. Speak now, sleeper. The game is forfeit. You must see that. He holds out a hand. You're of value. You are needed. But you only see me as a value. You don't see me as a person. You're not thinking about the people here. Fuck you. Even when I got your help to leave with my friends, you wanted me to do something there. Everything is a transaction for you, so I'm not leaving. You will have to kidnap me. You feel a slight release in the inertia that grips you, enough to allow you to speak, to respond. You realize that you are already in Castor's hands, that you cannot move from this place if you wanted. Sleeper? You hear a familiar voice above the crowds. Sleeper, I'm here. You're unable to turn your head to see Peake, but you notice Castor's eyes following them as they come up from behind you. Then you see Castor's eyes glance down towards his hand, concealed beneath the table. Sleeper! Peake comes around the front of you and waves a hand in front of your face. We were supposed to be meeting, remember? They glance at Castor. Sorry, am I interrupting something? You cannot speak. Castor shoots Peake a wide smile. Hello. You must be a friend of the speaker. You watch one of his hands lift, close to his body, some dark shape concealed in it. A weapon. Don't you dare kill Peake! You try to scream, to shout, but Castor's attention remains partially on you, and while it does, you can do nothing. Peake glances at your static form. What's happening here, sleeper? They put a hand on your shoulder. Are you okay? As Peake stares into your eyes, you see Castor behind, his hand lifting, the dark object unfolding, and in a split moment it does. You feel his attention shifting to Peake, shifting away from you. As you do, you feel the inertia lifting. You know this is the only moment you will have to act. Shove! You lurch forward wildly like a sprung trap. Your head strikes Peake's chest and then carries them back into Castor. Somewhere, some digital screech is echoing through the walkway. They tumble together, and the object in Castor's hand skitters across the floor. You realize the screech is you. You get to your feet, grab Peake, and run. You run as hard as you can, the scream chasing you down the walkway as you shove through the residence. Peake dragging behind. You run from the cold grip of whatever power Castor had over you, the signals that locked into this body of yours, that broke the connection and crawled up your spine. Eventually you stop, both you and Peake collapsing, heaving, breathing into the cold metal floor. When they're able to speak, Peake asks you to explain, and you tell them everything Castor told you, about Senate Stat, about their claim on the Helion system, their reactivation of the con channel, the Helion system's growing importance. It flows out of you in desperate gulps, unable to believe your own mouth as you hear these words coming back to you. All you feel is the need to push back against the cold hand on your shoulder, the vast cold eye that is turned to look at the system, the ghost limbs of corporate control that are extending their reach. Peake is quiet for a long time, then they speak. We have to finish this, sleeper. They meet your eye. We have to complete the seeding of the systems. We have to set the gardener free. You're right. If the choice is between gardeners and these people, I will choose gardener every time. Their eyes are cold and steely. I would choose anything over them. If you stand together. Oh my god, I thought you were gonna die! The final control facility is here. I found it. Peake looks at you grimly. I can take you as soon as you're ready. Time is almost up. This is the only shot you'll have. Oh, fuck! Oh god, Castor, bad boy! I never trusted him. Okay. Okay. Now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Okay. So, the facility Peake has led you to is decaying, derelict, but they promise the core is still active, you just have to find it. There are powered terminals in the derelict part of the low end. Accessing them is dangerous, but will be faster than wandering, or we can explore. To find the core in the facility, you'll need to trace the path between Peake's backdoor entry and the derelict levels below. Okay. I believe now we should work on this, and we should work on helping out with the system. We still have 11 cycles because we've been working very fast, and we had a lot of advantages in our way because I'm a hoarder and I carry a bunch of stuff around. So as long as we keep up with it, I think we should be okay. So let's start with this. We'll use our last data here. I'm so relieved I saved Peake's life. I don't know if they could have died there, but if they did, I would be so devastated. I love Peake so much. They're genuinely my favorite character. So, oh my god. I was so shaken by that. If Peake hadn't shown up, I would have been cooked. I'd be dead. Not dead, I would have been kidnapped. That would have been really bad. Okay, let's eat some food and pass out. I'm gonna sleep over on their ship, because I'm not staying over here. I know that he probably can't kidnap me here, but I'm not risking it. I'm leaving. I'm going over here. Let me sleep. Let me sleep. Yeah, we still have a lot of time, hopefully. We'll see, we'll see. It depends on what happens after this. So let's, should I repair myself? I still have time. We'll end the cycle now. My anxiety. Okay, not bad rolls, not bad rolls. I can work with those. Let's see. I can't work with the one, but I can work with the others. Hopefully I can re-roll the one. So let's work on this a little bit, just because I don't know what's gonna happen after this. We'll do this because we have a +2 to it. So we'll do this. Oh, that went really bad. How did that go so bad? Is it gonna take my condition every time? Don't do that, please. Here, take this one. Okay. Alright. Oh shit, hello! As you stop to rest in one of the Pilgrim Seat's cavernous bays, hopping up to sit on the supply crate, you hear a now familiar voice behind you. Sleeper, glad you're here. Soul's suit hisses as he clanks up towards you. I knew you'd help us out. We sure do appreciate everything you do for us. Building up to something? Soul shoots you a sideways look. See, that's what I like about you, Sleeper. Straight to the point. No messing. He smiles a sly smile. I almost died yesterday. Soul settles beside you, flinching a little, but making himself comfortable on the crate. Seems word got out, this way or that. He nods towards the welders a little way off, one of them wearing shipyard overalls. We've had people flowing in from the eye, looking for a place. In truth, it's more than I thought, Soul sighs, which means more mouths to feed, more bodies to house, more people to protect. Can we do it? Soul frowns. We'll do what we can, as always. I'm not sure any of it can be enough. He looks down. We were supposed to stay here, not keep running. So stay here! Soul waves away the thought. Don't listen to me. He gives you a sideways glance. Just a tired old man. He stretches. I have something to ask, though. I'm already helping. That's so mean. Something new? Soul shakes his head. Not much. Old matters, mostly. With all these evacuees, well, we need a change in plan. He shrugs. Pilgrim Seed can't do it alone. We need the others to help out. We can carry them, house them, but that's all. Now, you settled down the folks from Emberstep, and they sent us supplies grown from the dust houses of theirs. If we could get more... He nods to himself. And then the song crews. He rubs his chin. What we need from them is scouting and security. We don't need that docking access of theirs, but with some careful scavenging, they could be our fleet. These folks, they know you, Sleeper. You've earned their trust already. He puts a hand on your shoulder. I sent my requests out and they seem to be complying, but I need you out there making sure the work gets done. Time is our greatest enemy now. Soul stares into the distance. I need you out there speeding things up. Of course? Soul nods. All right then. He climbs off the crate, his suit hissing as he does. Think of it this way. Either way, you won't have to deal with me for much longer. He smiles his uneven smile. Unless, of course, you were planning to come along for the trip. I'm staying. That's not a lie. I'm staying. Soul nods. I understand. Soul waves a hand and starts off towards the bay's entrance, the crackling sound of the welding quickly covering up his clinking suit. You watch the workers, the shipyard contractor chatting among them, already looking like he belongs. You push the thought of escape, of home, and of the future to the back of your mind, and get up. There's always more to do. You better head to the other ships in the flotilla and see what can be done. So it seems like our options, it's either do this and get away, or work on the other thing. So I think I am going to continue to focus on working on the other thing. So that's where most of my work is going to go. We'll talk to the others in a second, because it seems like I triggered the other side of the quest line, but we'll worry about that in a little bit. Let me work on this. Where was it again? Here it is. Okay. Let's get shit done. They're both danger. Of course it is. Let me do a cheeky reroll. That didn't help me at all. That's just both the things I had already. Fine, let me fucking eat some fungus. This is rude. This is impolite and rude. Okay, we have num-nums, so I'm willing to risk these rolls now. 5 and 5, but the 2-1 is a little... Yeah, see, even with that, I think it's like unless it's a full 6, then we're gonna get hurt. So we'll just risk it for the biscuit. Yeah, I saw that coming. But we're almost done! Oh no, what now? Sleeper, here! Peake calls to you from across the flickering corridor. An elevator to the core. They smile. This is it. It had been a long set of cycles hunting for a path through the derelict layers of the old Solheim offices and workshops, but finally here it is, a path down to the core. You rush over to Peake. As you do, the doors grind open, the dingy-looking elevator flickering as they do. You look at Peake, who nervously gestures for you to get in. I'll go first. Peake already almost died. I'm not willing to let them get hurt. The elevator bounces just a little, but stays stable. You glance back to see Peake watching you nervously. They follow you in, sheepishly. Just a little nervous. Peake reaches over and punches the button for the lowest level, flinching a little as the doors grind closed. The elevator sets off, screeching through the floors as it does an unsettlingly loud volume. I'd feel more comfortable if we spoke. Peake raises their voice above the noise. It's not going to be a short trip. Have you heard of Senate Stat? Peake thinks. Maybe once. They frown. Could have been mentioned in an XPR news packet, the kind of central administration sent out to us. Something about market analytics, I think. They shake their head. When you have spent so much time trying to forget your past, that this stuff isn't easy to dredge up. Speaking of your past, how's the Esh? Peake pauses. I was thinking more like small talk, elevator talk. They sigh. She is packing. They rub their eyes. Once Esh has her mind set on something, well, you know her now. You know what I mean. The screeching of the elevator fills the silence. Can she be persuaded to stay? I doubt it, I really do. Peake looks down. She left her life behind to take me out of XPR, out of Hawthorne. I can't imagine her settling for just anywhere. To be honest, I can't see her letting me stay either, but I guess things have changed. Back then, at Hawthorne, I wasn't in a place to know what to do. I was desperate. I was ready to run. But now? Peake pauses. Now I feel done with that. Done with denying my past, my history. If I ever want to feel complete, to feel settled, don't I need to somehow resolve the person I was with the person I am now? Peake goes quiet and you do too. There are too many possible questions, too many possibilities before you. It just seems easier to get on with the task at hand and leave the consequences for later. The elevator screams to a stop and the doors ping open with a strangely cheerful beep. You glance at Peake. Time to move on. You both walk out into the atrium, still well lit by some ragged-looking light panels on the ceiling, once simulating a summer sky, now degraded into a flickering blue and white tapestry of glitches. Peake crosses quickly, making a beeline for the large doors on the far side, where you can make out a fading sign in a mass of peeling letters, Central Control. You follow, helping them lever open the partially powered doors until the motors kick in and they spring to life, thudding open. You and Peake tumble through across the damp metal. As you stand, you are greeted by flickering lights, thousands of them. A vast cylindrical stack of servers, processors, and transmitters dominates the center of the room, its flickering LEDs reflected in the scattered puddles that surround it. Despite the decay, the warped panels, and water leaks, it is still running, just as it has for decades and decades since the station was first spun. You wonder how long it has been since anyone has been in this room. You exchange a wide-eyed look with Peake. This place is a still living piece of history. What now? Peake takes a handful of mulch out from a small bag. It glitters with spores. Now we seed this place. They cross to the server and start packing the mulch deep into the machinery, pushing fistfuls deep into gaps in the paneling, laying it across hardware. As you watch them doing this, you feel a tug, a thread pulling at you. You approach the vast piece of cylindrical hardware that Peake is stuffing mulch into. You run your hand across its plated metal surface and watch the lights blink in response. As you pass, you hear a whirring, like a physical disk drive starting up. Gonna lean closer. You put your face against the metal, smell the hot air venting from the hardware. Heart was the right choice of word, you think. The whirring shifts, alternating, speeding up, slowing down, and as you listen, you hear it modulate into a voice. Sleeper. You freeze. You are here. For a moment, you are afraid, but something in the tonality of the voice is familiar. Navigator! Another voice drive spins up, and another, giving the voice a richer, multitonal sound. I had forgotten what it felt like to speak like this. The drive skips. There is a certain quality to it, a certain physicality. Why contact me like this? The drives squawk in unison. Did you imagine the flux, the shadow protocol, that they were just a problem for the people in this station? A high whining begins. They are all the more dangerous to us. I have been hiding once more, jumping from network to network to avoid the shadow as it eats up nodes. A low rumble. I had thought my hiding days were done. For the moment, I have found myself a safe haven here in the core. The shadow has yet to breach this facility, although that is a temporary state of affairs. The rumble stops. My predictions do not point to good outcomes. That's why we're here! You explain to Navigator about Peake's plan, about Gardner's resistance to the shadow, and how by seeding key systems you will protect them from its advance. The drives hum thoughtfully as you speak. A desperate plan, the drives were, but appropriate given the probability of total collapse. I'm not sure what will be worse for us, hiding from the erasure of the shadow protocol, or the assimilation of the gardener. The drive pauses to reset, but we owe you our freedom. I will do what I can to guide the gardener into the systems you have seeded. A pause. It is correct to do so. Be careful. The drive squeaks in affirmation. You have a notable persistence, Sleeper. Even with such poor probabilities of success, I will be curious to see the outcome. The drives squeal, the motors giving out. This cannot be sustained for much longer. Go. I'll be fine. A final squeak of affirmation, and then the drives skitter and slow to a halt. You step back from the towering cylinder, staring at this vast piece of Solheim hardware. This whole place is built from ghosts, you think, from old protocols and company hardware, from engines that drove decades of corporate expansion. Is the eye proof that they can be shifted, bent, forced into new configurations that allow for new ways of living? Or is its inevitable collapse proof that these engines of expansion can never be anything other than a corrupt foundation? It seems to depend on who you ask. Done! Peake's shout breaks your line of thought. The heat and damp should help the spores germinate quickly. If we're lucky, there's enough time for some growth before we reconnect the Greenway. They glance at you. That's it. All the facilities seeded. They sigh. We either just ensured the eye's survival, or stuffed a whole lot of soil into one of the most important computers. They laugh weakly. Shall we go? They start to head back towards the doors in the elevator beyond. Take one last look. You wait for a moment, following the blinking lights. You wonder what might be tucked away in such a structure, what secrets it might hold, what histories. It's an intriguing prospect, but while you watch the lights, you realize something. If the eye is to become anything more than an offshoot, a temporary structure, it must form its own history, its own stories, stronger than anything that came before. Unlocking these Solheim secrets won't do that, but the persistence, the stubborn drive to survive what is in the veins of every person in this place, that will, and that is what you're trying to save. You turn your back on the core and follow Peake back into the elevator. As you ride the car back up, Peake raises their voice over the screeching. I'm going to the Founder's Gap to finalize the connection. The moment I'm ready, I'll let you know, and we let the gardener out. The sooner the better. Peake furrows their brow. If we wait until the final cycle, it'll be too late. If you want to help speed things up, go work with the flotilla. We can't make the connection until we know they're ready to go. Peake swallows. Unleashing the gardener could affect them too if we aren't careful. This will work. Peake nods, opens their mouth to speak, and closes it again. You ride the rest of the way in silence. When you reach the top, you go your separate ways, but before you do, Peake embraces you, burying their face into your shoulder. You stand there together for a moment, spinning with the eye, moving relentlessly towards an unknown future, and then they let you go, and slip away, the pressure of their hug fading like a bruise as you begin to leave. Okay. So, we got that done. Now it's a matter of waiting. Should I do this again? Or am I just good to leave that? I feel like I should work on that still. Just to be sure. And then, where is Peake? Okay, so we do need to do this. So it's a good thing we only took 2 cycles to work on all this stuff. So the rest of our time is going to be working with these guys. Hopefully they won't make things too difficult, but we'll see. Let's start with Peter. The docking axis is in chaos when you arrive. The staccato bursts of welding torches and the shouts of crew gathering, the rapid flow of supplies and kit from dock to dock. You can tell already that the news of the flotilla's imminent departure has reached this place before you. Come to join the Exodus, sleeper? Peter approaches you from one of the working crews, a smile on his face, and a lightness in his step you haven't quite seen before. What's happening? Peter gestures to the chaos. The singers are rising, sleeper. Peter eyes you. I suppose you're here on Soul's orders again? He winks at you. Nothing Ember's Hearth likes to do more than ordering people around. You guessed it, I'm not gonna be dishonest. Well, Soul has it lucky anyway. His request for us to dismantle the Axis and be the vanguard of the flotilla's onward journey to the Starward Belt aligns perfectly with our plans. Uh-huh. If we can build our escape and make the harsh ships think we're complying with their orders at the same time, then it's 2-1 for us. Peter shakes his head. Those idiots will never see it coming. You're leaving the flotilla? We're our own flotilla, sleeper. Peter looks away at the busy Axis. We aren't going to tie ourselves to heart and step any longer. Why would we? I get it. I understand, but... Peter nods firmly. As you should. Peter looks down. Look, nothing against you or ours, sleeper, but we have to get out from under the shadow of Steppe and Hearth, and this is the time. Peter grimaces. We won't let the flux catch us again. Not a chance. And for the first time, you see fear in his eyes. Want to help us make that leap? Grab a torch, talk to the crew. You're welcome to it. Peter sniffs. Every person here is free to prove themselves. I'll help when I can. Peter nods. Just a stop on the road, sleeper. I'm afraid that's all this was. Peter glances out past the docking axis, towards the outer windows to the stars beyond. A lot of space out there for those willing to take it. He looks you in the eye. I hope you'll be around before we go, but if not, he smiles. Stay strong. And with that, Peter thumps you on the shoulder and heads back to his crew, with a purpose, a direction visible in every step of his rapid stride. Let's see. So, okay, dock dismantling, so we need to help with that. And they're gonna leave, but I'm not gonna stop them. They deserve to find their own place. I need to work with all of them, so the next few are definitely gonna be, we're focused on this. What about Aki? I knew you'd come. Aki greets you outside the dust house, her eyes as bright as always. You're very welcome here, as always. Good to see you, Aki. Aki smiles. And you, sleeper? Aki puts a hand on your arm. Walk with me. And she guides you past the dust houses. You look inside and see other members of the crew working in the orange desk, planting and tending to the steppe ecosystem. We are to be the suppliers for the evacuees. I'm sure you have heard. We will put the dust houses to use. She leads you past a dust house where the dust is less, the orange glow not as bright, the air a little more clean. We are adapting slowly, but we are adapting. We have to produce food, clothes, necessary thing for the journey ahead. She smiles. The plants of steppe are once again sustaining a population, and that makes me proud. Aki stops at a half-empty dust house, scoured of its sands. It is being filled with mulch. We brought this from the Greenway. She stares at the green and brown, a strange sight even to you, now that you are used to the amber dust of steppe. Is this a good thing, then? Because if the Greenway is here and the gardener makes a jump to here, then maybe it'll help stop the flux? Question mark? Who knows? I admit it's hard work for us. We're not familiar with these plants. Can you help us? Aki meets your eye. I'll do my best. Thank you. She nods solemnly. I know that the eye is suffering, that it is at risk. I know what it is like. Thank you. I wish I had a lesson to share with you from our loss on steppe. She shakes her head, but for the moment I cannot see what that might be. She gathers herself. If it gives you meaning, The work here is steady and worthwhile, but if you do not have the time, she smiles a weak smile, I will not blame you. Hold on to your memories, but not too tightly. She pauses. Sadness will not sustain you. She falls silent, and you both watch the work in the dust house for a while. You can already see the greening fringe of moss on the mulch of the dust house, the first signs of life. Will you be soon like the people of Steppe leaving behind a home? Or will you be stubborn and hold your ground despite what it might mean? You wait a little longer with Aki. The moment a welcome suspension in time, a rare moment in this rush towards an end. You glance at Aki and she puts a hand on your shoulder in solidarity. After a short while, Aki sighs. It is good to see you, sleeper. Perhaps we will see each other again before we depart. She walks away, fingertips brushing against the glass of the dust house windows. Aki turns back for a moment, as if she wants to say something, then thinks better of it and turns away. Say what? Say what? Okay, what do we have to do here? Okay, tending to the gardening. Okay, we have a lot to do, so let's see. 1, 2, I need to touch the screen to make sure I get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. This is going to be close. This is gonna be close. But I know we can do it. The only thing I'm worried about is that I still want to finish what we were doing over here at the control center, because I'm worried that, like, I'm not going to have done it, and then it'll be like, oh yeah, there was a nuke in there that you could have deactivated if you knew about it. So that'll only take 2. So we need to work slowly but surely. We gotta work on this, and we're going to put all of our effort into it. We have, like, 9 cycles left, technically 10. So we need to, like, do this now. This is all of our attention. I don't want to sleep over here still. Oh, and my mushrooms are done. Well, too fucking bad. I'm busy. I can't waste any time. Why did I go to the waste as I said that? We're not wasting. I'll sleep at the dorm. And let's see. Oh, I should eat. I need to eat. First, let's self-repair. Thank goodness I hoarded so much money. Can you imagine if I had to, like, stop and work for food right now? We wouldn't get anything done. Hopefully the next thing, now that I said that, isn't gonna be like, hey, you need $50, 50,000 credits. Okay, we'll just chomp on some food and then we'll leave. Betty bye time. Oh, this is gonna be close. This is gonna be really close. We need good rolls and we need to use them good. Okay. Okay. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. I believe in us. I'm glad we can help both of them. It seems like we have to. Oh, why bad rolls? Bad, 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 bad. Part of me wants to check out that thing, but I think I'm gonna wait. I think it's more important that I work on this. We're already 3 cycles through. What should I use them on? How much do they have left? They still have a bit. I think I'm gonna get started on these ones. I'll do 1 in each, and then we'll roll and see what happens. And if we get better rolls, we get better rolls. I just think I'm definitely gonna have to focus on 1 of these at a time. We'll see. Okay, re-roll. Ooh, baby! Ooh, baby! Ooh, baby! Okay, we'll definitely, we'll work on this. Because if I get these to a good point, see, like, 2, 4, 6, 8, if we got 4 good rolls, we could finish this right now. So, if we get this to a point where in 1 cycle I can deal with it, then I think that's good. And then we've got the stupid number 2, but I can upgrade 1 of these to a number 2, so should I might shove it into this one. Yeah, let's shove it into this one. That way they're all on the same thing. And if we get good rolls, 2, 4, 6, then, what was I saying? Then, that means that we are done. Well, not done. What am I saying? That means that we can get through the rest of it in a cycle, which is what we need. We need to be fast. Lives are on the line, and so is the entirety of the eye. I don't pay in scrap. I pay in this. And I'm going to self-repair again. I want to use up all my scrap before I, worry about my stabilizers. That way, we're just keeping up. We're keeping up. I can't even sunbathe right now because that takes up valuable time. Okay, okay. And end cycle. Next one. Next. Ooh, that is way better. Okay, we can finish one of these. We might be able to finish two. Hang on, let me see. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so we can't finish two, but we can finish one. Let's start with these guys. And let me be a little bit of a bitch, and we will, do the lower rolls that we have. Oh, that was really bad. Okay, only takes 2 more. And done. Please tell me this is all you want me to do. I got a scrap item. Nice, thank you. The docking axis is a little more than a shell. Everything that could have been pulled from its interior, every arm not used for docking, has been cut away. What remains is a Spartan void with a patchwork of flooring that allows movement. Piles of unusable material are tucked away in corners, but almost everything else has been cleared out. You haven't seen Peter since you last spoke, and now you're realizing that you probably never will. There are plans to be made, escapes to plot, the shadow of Hearth to escape. On the cycle the flotilla leaves, these ships will disperse too, the moons of Ember spinning out on the orbits. The chaos has become a quiet diligence now, as the time for departure is so near. Crews cross the axis from ship to ship at speed, bringing supplies or advice, perhaps meeting up to discuss travel vectors in hushed tones, or to debate why they haven't left yet, and whether they should. Among these singer crews, recognizable for their specialist clothing and often shorn heads, you see an occasional refugee, a paying passenger, or a replacement engineer or pilot perhaps, come from the eye to seek fortune with the singers. Most of the crew have 2 or 3 of these additions, some more, and you can't help but wish that, whatever reason brings them to throw their lot in with the singer's crew, they will have safe passage. You feel a strange attachment to these citizens of the eye, setting out for the first time. And then one of them catches your eye, crossing the axis with the crew, carrying a large bag and a nervous look. Tala! You freeze for a second. What is she doing here? She glances around, feeling your eyes on her, and catches your eye. Her face brightens immediately. Sleeper! Tala mutters something to her crew and rushes over, dumping the large bag at your feet and embracing you without thinking. Good to see you. She pulls back. And you! She smiles, but then it quickly fades, as she realizes the context in which you're meeting. She sheepishly glances at her bag. Sleeper. She pauses. She pauses again, folding her arms defensively. I'm going to the starward belt. She waits for your response nervously. Why didn't you say? Is this why didn't you stay, or why didn't you say it to me? I don't know, we'll find out. She sighs. Do you remember me mentioning my family, Sleeper? My brother? You think back to your Creole blurred conversations back in the Bantian. He came here with me, with my family, when we were little, just after we left Sinza. She bites her lip. He left when we were both teenagers, jumped on some spacer crew heading to the starward belt. She sighs. I'm an idiot. She shakes her head. And I'm going after him. She looks down, not sure what to add. That makes sense. She looks at you. It does? She laughs nervously. I'm not so sure anymore. I really don't know if it makes sense or if it's the right thing, but ever since I heard that this was where the refugee flotilla was going, well, I couldn't stop thinking about him. How did you hear? I work in a bar, she grins. I've heard every bit of gossip this place has to offer. Okay, that's true. I have played many bar games, so maybe I should have known that already. Speaking of the Bantian, she meets your eye. Someone will have to run it. She leaves a long pause. Oh! I mean, I can ask Francis. He'd be happy to, or one of the others, she blurts out. And of course, if you're leaving with the flotilla or something else, it'd be totally okay. You wouldn't need to say yes. It's no pressure. It's fine, whichever way. I was just thinking I could run the bar. Tala nods, smiling. I think so. I mean, you could take a second. But, she glances at the crew she was walking with, who were chatting a little way away. That's not exactly much time. So, considering that, She grabs the key hanging around her neck, the key to the Bonteon. Do you want to do it? Is this something that will put me on a timer too? I'll say yes. This is my friend. I want to help. Plus, money. Tala leaps forward and embraces you again. Thank you, Sleeper. I couldn't be leaving it in better hands. She pulls the key from around her neck and places it around yours as if presenting a medal. Remember to lock up, especially the back, and remember to empty the still if you're leaving things closed for a few cycles, and... She stops herself. I won't be gone forever, of course. She blinks away a tear. I could come back and check in. Maybe once I find my brother. She pauses, unable to finish that thought. She smiles at you, and you can see the weight lifting off her shoulders, her eyes already drifting towards the crew, the ship, the next big thing. She's ready. I'd better be going. She nods at the crew nearby. Not a good start to keep my guys waiting. She lifts the bag onto her shoulder. She looks down at the curve of the eye, towards the overlook. Thanks again, Sleeper, for everything you've helped me with. She nods. I wouldn't have been able to leave if I hadn't made things work here. She adjusts the bag. Dad wouldn't have let me. See you around? She nods. Hope so. Then Tala turns, heading back to the crew who will carry her to the starward belt. You watch her go, and despite the departure, it's hard to feel sad about Tala. You know her energy will carry her forward, and you hope her brother is somewhere on a bright path. You hold that key in your hand, the metal still a little warm from Tala's body. You turn it over in your fingers, thinking about how it feels like a tool and a burden. You can still lock up and leave, you figure, but now that will feel like breaking something fragile. And if you stay, well, who knows what this little metal promise might grow into. So is that something I need to work on? I'll try if I have to. I just think the reason I took it without much thought is because, like, imagine if we fix this and the Sleeper finally gets a chance to rest and just, like, gets to enjoy time at their bar and, like, they run the bar. This is our chance. We finally can settle down. All the chaos is over. So that's something for us to work towards, you know? You have to have a goal in mind. Oh, before I go. No! I pressed the wrong button. I'm gonna use this last one on the control center. I feel like I should. Because we only need 2 more. So let me crack the facility. And I need to eat. You know what? For old time's sake, let's cook at the bar. Let's do it. I know I might need these later, but I have a lot. And my mushrooms are ready whenever I need them, so we'll do that. We'll self-repair because we got an extra scrap, and then we'll move on to the next part tomorrow. Everyone's leaving! But I'm staying, I'm not changing my mind. I'll go down with this ship. Start action. And end cycle. Here we go. Be nice. Be nice, be nice, be nice, be nice, be nice. Yahtzee. Okay. Okay. That's not too bad. I just definitely should eat before I go do stuff. I'll re-roll if I have to. Where? Ah, haha. Give me some num-nums. Oh god, is Emphis gonna leave too? That would make me cry oh no, what if he does? Because the one we're gonna finish today is the one with the plants. We'll find out, we'll find out. Let's see, let's go with this one. This one. We'll risk it for the biscuit with this one. It's a 50-50. Okay. One more good roll. Yes! There we go. You sit in one corner of the dust house and inspect your work. This dust house, the one where plants from the greenway and some of the steppe species intermingle, has become your favorite. The moss and dust sharing the space in curving terraces, the pale knots of steppe silk freckled with yellowing lichel symbiotes. It is a hypnotic arrangement. You look down and see the intertwining fungal threads and dust-caked roots and feel a little glow of pride at what has been achieved. You hear the entry lock of the dust house hiss open, and assuming it is Aki, turn to greet her. Oh, it's Rico! Sleeper! I should have known you'd be here. Rico smiles her warm smile, leaning on her crutch. You must be one of the most green-fingered people on the station. Rico! Now, has it been so long? She smiles a wry smile. No need for any drama. I know, but you're leaving! I met some of the steppe refugees in the Greenway. They were gathering plants and I confronted them. Turns out they were very friendly. She smiles to herself. Aki was very apologetic, but I told them they were welcome to anything they liked. She told me I'd be welcome to come see, and well, I thought I'd take her up on the offer. She looks around the dust house with its strange hybrid ecosystem. I have to say, I'm glad I did. I'm glad too. I can see that. Riko limps over to you. She holds out a hand. How about you take me on a tour? You take Riko's hand and walk her around the hybrid dust house. You show her how the steppe silk knots help provide a strong base for fungal and lichal growths, and how the dust mixes with the spores. You show her the different species of steppe tubers and the way they feed the soil with nutrients that help the herbaceous greenway plants thrive. She nods along, her eyes bright with ideas. She stops after a while and gestures for you to sit together. I know something is happening with the eye, Sleeper. She looks out at the plants. We all felt the flux event hit and everyone's talking about what's next. I came out here to figure something out, to understand what I might do about it all. You glance at her and see the glossiness in her eyes. And I think I've decided. What you have done here, what Aki and the other steppe refugees have done here, is incredible. A whole new ecosystem built from this strange, artificial, changed remains of two worlds. But I am not of two worlds. I am of the eye. A tear runs down her cheek. Like it or not, I am entwined with the station. I'm old growth. I don't have that much time anymore, and it seems to accelerate with every cycle. She frowns. It blurs together, separates, overlaps, comes back to me in strange ways. The time I do have, that's time I want to spend on the eye, in the Greenway, watching things grow. She wipes her cheek. One day I'll lie in those fields and not get back up. She smiles, the tear tracks down both cheeks. And when the green takes me, I'll be so glad. I'll miss you. I mean, I'm staying, so we'll see each other again, hopefully, but I'll miss you. Riko smiles. The feeling is mutual, Sleeper. She wipes her eye and turns to you. But that's enough of me blubbering about it. She furrows her brow. What I want to know is, what are you planning? I'm staying. Riko smiles. We all have to get to know ourselves, Sleeper, to know what it is that drives us. I'm sure you'll decide to act in the manner you know, but you also have to ask yourself why it is so. She places a trembling hand on yours. Don't neglect that. Oh! She suddenly lifts both hands. Don't let me forget this. She reaches into her coat and pulls out a transparent bag of sporing clubheads with carefully preserved root systems. I'd like to plant these. If you go, you'll need them. She looks down at her feet. And if you don't, well, maybe another Sleeper will benefit. She frowns. I can offer that at least. That's a good point. Thank you. She nods. Don't thank me. These are yours by right. Riko stands and limps over to a pile of mulch. She delicately takes the club heads out and beds them into the soil there with precise, expert hands. You should go, Sleeper. I'll be a while. She calls back, not looking away from the job at hand. See you around. She says it casually, but there's a note of finality to her speech. Goodbye, Riko. You turn and leave the dust house, cycling through the protective lock, back into the cool quiet of the ship. Aki is waiting for you. It's beautiful. She's looking through the observation window, and the green reflects in her eyes. The plants look so happy together. She spots Riko with her hands in the soil. Ah, the botanist came. She shoots you a look. A friend of yours? More than that. She nods. She speaks beautifully about the Greenway. I should go in and welcome her. She pauses. Are you leaving us? Yes. I'm assuming you're also asking if I'm staying. The answer is no, so yes, I'm leaving. Aki sighs. The first of many goodbyes. She suddenly embraces you, wrapping you in layers of rough cloth. She pulls back. I wish you a steady step and a clear path. She smiles. A farewell from my world. I wish you the same. She nods and smiles one last warm smile before turning and entering the dust house. You watch as she walks inside, Riko turning with a smile to greet her. She kneels beside the old botanist, and you see her pointing to the club heads, asking questions. You're unable to hear them, but despite that, you can easily imagine the measured, even tone laced with excitement that Riko is using to explain the club heads, the Greenway, and much, much more. You turn, leaving them to the depth of their conversation. Your step is light despite the burdens you carry, and the smile Riko and Aki were sharing is somehow still on your lips as you depart. Another one done. We're saying goodbye to so many people. Alright, let's use this last roll to make sure we're fully done with the center. Just because I want to make sure that if anything pops up, I don't need to finish that. We're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. There we go, we cracked the facility. And it's gone. Did we trigger the cutscene early? Is that what happened? I don't know. But now let's rest, and tomorrow we will finish with Pilgrim Seed, and then we'll see what happens after that. So let's repair ourselves and end the cycle. Good rolls? Fuck you. I'll use the 1. I'll use the 4, because I think I can bump that up to a 6. With one of these. Yes, I can bump that up to a 6. So that's good. But then all of the others are garbage. Please. Okay, okay. I don't mind. No, I'm gonna use this one. I don't want to lose any more health. Damn, but I'm gonna have to. It's fine, it's just 1 time. There we go! They just keep coming. Perhaps the Flux event scared enough people that they really believe the Eye will collapse. Perhaps they're sick of Haven Age, of the Council's infighting and the hardliners, or perhaps they just want to take a chance at some new future, a place that is anywhere but here. Whatever it is, the evacuees don't stop. They come on the flotilla shuttles, on their own ships, however they can. You've seen so many faces pass that they're almost meaningless now, a parade of features that seem both familiar and distant. You've been helping people, lifting bags, bringing in supplies, directing some of them to the berths you helped build. Some of them recoil from your touch, still unfamiliar with sleepers. Others treat you with pity, some with hate, snatching their bags and storming off. Still, you help. Still, you carry boxes and bags. Nothing can stop you. You don't look for Soul. You know he's busy, just like you, trying to make this thing work, trying to fit as many people as will come onto the Pilgrim Seed. You know you will see him before this is all over. You keep working, but there's something in the back of your mind, something eating away at you. You try to push it to the back of your thoughts, but it keeps coming back. The Eye is over. That is the thought. That the Eye, even if the Flux doesn't get it, is on its way out. How can it survive when these floods of people are leaving it behind? That's why we need to stay! It's a thought that troubles you, because it makes you question why you've held on here so long, in a place that seems so temporary for so many people. Are you just a stubborn idiot, or someone who didn't get the message? Or are you strong, committed for lasting the storm, for seeing the collapse coming and facing it head on? Because there is something you are sure of now. This place, like all places, is temporary. Well, life is temporary! And as each face passes you, each family packs up and gets on board the Pilgrim Seed, it feels ever more temporary, ever more fragile. Which means it's either desperately needs protecting or it desperately needs to be left behind. The choice is yours. I know what choice I'm making. I'm upgrading. That's the most important thing right now. Let's see, what should we put a +2 into? Probably Endure. That one seems to be bothering us a lot. Is there nothing else to do? The choice is mine, what does that mean? Do I just have to wait for Peake? How many cycles? 1, 2, 3. We have half the cycles left. What do I do now? I'm just gonna take a look around and check for Peake. See if there's anything that needs doing. Oh, we can make food at the bar again. This feels so final. Everything's coming to a head. People are leaving, people are staying. The Flux is gonna try and kill all of us. Not if I have anything to say about it, but there's still a very real chance that could happen. Doesn't seem like there's anything else we can do this cycle. I don't see anything. I guess I'll use the last of my rolls to get a little extra cash in. And then we'll rest and see if something happens tomorrow now that everything is done. I think. Let me double check. No active drives. Okay, yeah, we got everything done. I'm very proud of us. When I saw the amount of stuff, I admit I wasn't sure if I could get everything done, but we did it. We'll see what happens next. Let's go sleep at the Haifa dorm again. With Rico. I'm sure she's there. Or maybe she's not. But this is the place I feel more comfortable right now, considering that someone tried to murder our bestie not very long ago. Alright, end the cycle. We'll see what happens next. Okay. We got some okay rolls, which is good. We're probably gonna need them. But I have a feeling someone's gonna talk to me. I was incorrect! Guys! Let's make some num-nums and then go to bed. There's nothing happening. This is weird. I'm like, I feel like I'm waiting for, like, the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for something to happen. We'll see. I'm still sleeping over here. I don't trust Castor. I mean, he could probably get here anyway, but let's not think about that. End cycle. Ooh! Oh! Something's happening! Peake's slate chirps in your pocket. You take it out. A message. The connection is ready. Meet me at the Founder's Gap, Greenway side. Peake. You clench your jaw. It's time. This is it. This is everything we've been working for. There's nothing to do now but do it. You find Peake waiting near where you first met, at the entrance of the docking tunnel for the Founder's Ferry. They're leaning beside the wall in the flickering light, and you realize now how different they look from when you first met. There's a darkness around their eyes, a sense of exhaustion to their pose, but also a solidity, a sense of purpose and self-knowledge. They look concrete, for want of a better word. Solid. Sleeper. They spot you, and a small smile crosses their face. Glad you came. I wouldn't be anywhere else. Their smile grows. Crunch time. They shake their head in disbelief. Let's go. The break in the connection is up ahead. They walk away from the docking tunnel, into a ragged, half-crushed corridor that descends into the darkness. They poke their slate and a torch flicks on, lighting the way ahead. As you descend through the layers of the broken edge of the eye, Peake talks, filling the silence. I had to hunt all over this part of the eye to find the point where the connection was broken. They run a hand along the buckled metal of the walls, stooping under the angled ceiling. This hole, the gap, got knocked in the eye when Solheim collapsed. It's impossible to tell who did it, but my guess is they tried to scuttle the eye. If Solheim couldn't keep hold of their fancy new station, well, no one could. Peake ducks through a fractured passageway with hanging wires like vines. So this place has always been on borrowed time. Oh god, is Castor gonna be here? I've managed to weave together the old connections, and run a new patch down to where the main line still runs through the remaining ribs of the rim. They smile. Just like keeping those old XPR platforms running. Esh would be proud, if she bothered to help. As Peake goes quiet, the corridor opens out into a wider, twisted passage with compartments on either side thick with wiring. Here, this is the connection point. You can see where Peake has levered off a panel and hooked up a thick cable to the existing hardware. As thick as a tree trunk, it snakes off into the dark ahead, its yellow rings making it look like some huge and exotic serpent. You did all this? Peake nods. It was an interesting challenge. Plus it helped me keep my mind off things. Peake smiles a weak smile. There's a lot I'd prefer not to think about. You both stand there, staring at the point where the new cable meets the old one. The ends separate, fitted with multi-pin male and female connectors and braced inside a metal framework with a scissoring mechanism. Bring them together, seal them, and the Greenway will be connected with the rest of the eye for the first time in decades. Peake shifts their weight onto one hip, pushing their hair out of their eyes. I feel like this should be more momentous, like there should be some ritual or ceremony. They pause. Or someone should stop us from doing this crazy thing. It isn't crazy. Peake nods. I mean, I'm not being funny, Sleeper, but this whole thing is crazy to me. Peake shakes their head. Leaving Hawthorne with Esh, joining the flotilla, coming here, meeting you, the flux, the shadow, everything. They laugh a hollow laugh. So I suppose this is at least consistent with all of that. They take a deep breath. Okay. They look at you with mild panic. They hold both sides of the supporting framework, ready to scissor it closed. Here we go. Oh gosh. Peake wrenches the framework closed, and the connections thunk together with a sound that echoes down the ruined corridor, into the dark on both sides. Both you and Peake wait with bated breath, unsure of what it is you're waiting for. Do you expect the eye to suddenly stop spinning, or lurch on its axis? For the power to go out, or a shockwave to run through the corridors of the rim? You meet Peake's eyes, and suddenly they burst out laughing. What were we waiting for? They put a hand to their forehead. I feel like we just planted a tree and are expecting it to burst out of the ground. They shake their head. But you feel it. You feel it flowing like a stream that has been released from a cave and rushes out into the sunlight, crystalline and clear. You swear you hear it running in the wires, like water, like rain, like steam. It doesn't roar or rattle, but it rustles and writhes there, like liquid roots. Peake sees the look in your eyes and stops laughing. You can see it, can't you? You can't see it, not with your eyes at least, but it is everywhere, and now it is out. It can't be put back in, that much is clear. You imagine the rim of the eye is like a sponge, like soil, soaking up the gardener in their chorus, the gaps filling with a burbling, constant growing life. Peake stares at you, waiting for something, anything. Something has changed. Peake looks concerned. They close their eyes. They go to speak, but the words fail them. Suddenly, Peake's slate chirps. They jump and scramble for it, almost dropping it in the process, but when they stare at it, a look of confusion crosses their face. What happened? Is it Castor? Peake's mouth falls open. It's Esh. They swallow. She's leaving. They look at you with panic. Before you can speak, they have turned away and are moving back up the passageway, back towards the entrance. Peake! They don't run, they don't respond, and you watch their silhouette, lit by their slate's torch, disappear rapidly around a corner. You take out the slate Peake gave you and turn on the torch. The wires all around look like pale roots from the harsh light, and you turn away from them. They're the gardeners now. You work your way back through the corridors, retracing your steps. You imagine Peake, panicked, running towards the cordon, realizing that their greatest fear has come to pass. You wonder if they'll be able to persuade Esh to stay. If Esh is going, you think, then the flotilla must be leaving too. The thought makes you shiver in the darkness and you push it away. You're not ready. You focus on avoiding the hanging wires, the low ceilings, and make your way back out into the lit corridors of Founder's Ferry Dock. Castor is waiting for you. Fuck, I knew you'd be here! He holds up his hands. Now, sleeper. There's no need to fear. He raises his eyebrows. I understand now it was my mistake to try and force you. A miscalculation. I'm not saying shit. I won't hold you here, sleeper. Castor stands to the side. But I wish to speak. Nope! There's nothing Castor can say that you want to hear. He speaks for Senate Stat, and they have no hold on you. You approach Castor. As you approach, he speaks quietly, an urgent whisper. I do not wish to see you lost. You're of great value, if you ever want to see that realized. You push past, ignoring him, and his voice fades. The last you see of him is his slow nod, perhaps a mark of resignation, or just another deferential gesture aimed at manipulating your response. It doesn't matter either way. You're done with him. You head towards the cordon, Peake and the flotilla in the forefront of your mind. Fuck you, Castor! You'll never get me again! Peake! You arrive into chaos at the cordon. The final shuttles are leaving the ramshackle docks that have formed along the edge of the gap during the flotilla's stay. As they do, a group of evacuees push on board, hoping to be among the final people to escape from the eye. The fear created by the Flux event became a series of rumors, and those rumors have driven out many from their homes. Others have staunchly doubled down on their position on the eye, refusing to accept any gossip of a second collapse. You're unsure what to think. Is the collapse a certainty? Will Peake's actions in this cycle have changed anything at all? You're tired of these questions and instead set out to look for your friends. You quickly spot Peake and Esh at the far side of the chaotic bay. You quickly make your way through the crowd, slipping between the gaps of the rushing evacuees, stepping over bags and luggage. Progress is slow, but as you approach, you can hear their voices over the crowd. You try to push closer, but there are many evacuees gathered around them in their shuttle. You've made your decision, Peake, and it puts you against me. Esh is standing with one foot on the boarding ramp while Peake argues with her. The evacuees are eyeing them, eager to intervene but intimidated by Esh's evident strength and attitude. Esh, it doesn't have to be like this. Peake looks desperate, tear tracks already on their cheeks. We can find a way. Esh shakes her head. I've always protected you, Peake. I've taken you under my wing. But I understand that you are not mine to control. And you've chosen to be here and not with me, despite everything. That's manipulative language. That's guilt-tripping hardcore, Esh. I've chosen to stop running, Peake cries out in frustration. You could choose to stop running too. We could stay here and try to live. Don't you remember what it feels like to live, Esh? Esh turns away. I remember what it was like to live on Hawthorne, what it was like to be worried for your safety every cycle, to live under the control of my mother, of the administration, to work to maintain something that no one wanted, no one needed, so that our corporation could maintain a foothold in this system. You talk as if this place, in the very same system, is any different. What is there here but the same grind for other masters, for employers, administrators, for those who gain from our struggles? They may not be a corporation controlling the eye, but there is control. There is power in action here. So what then? Peake shouts. You run from anyone or everyone who can ever be close to you, in search of freedom, in search of some perfect place where no one has power over you? Peake is crying openly now. I want to be a part of something, Esh, even if it is broken and suffering, even if it can't be free. Esh pauses and takes a deep breath. She nods, her eyes closed. This isn't Hawthorne anymore. We aren't tied by our childhood, or by our shared need to escape. We're both just people in this system. She opens her eyes. I release you, Peake. You're free of me. Esh, please! They hold out a hand. There's a life here if you want it. Esh turns and smiles at Peake, her eyes wet now too. Then live it for me, Peake. I can't. And she climbs up the boarding ramp, the evacuees taking their chance to climb on board too. You watch as the shuttle closes its ramp, lifts off, and leaves the bay. The crowds are dispersing now, as they get onto shuttles or say their goodbyes and move back into the main part of the cordon. You push past the last of them to reach Peake. Peake doesn't turn as you come closer. Sleeper, Esh is gone. I stay silent. They turn to face you. I'll miss the Briar, but she'll serve Esh well. I know that. Oh God, hi! We're having a moment here! Sleeper! The shout takes you by surprise, and as you turn you see Sol coming across the bay towards you, the last two shuttles loading up behind him. He reaches you, his suit hissing as he does. Can't believe you'd make an old man run across the bay to get to you. He pauses to take a breath. The singers have gone. They left at the start of the cycle. They broke away from the flotilla. I wonder if anyone helped them with that. You smile as you think of Tala, safely cradled in one of those singer ships, on her way towards the starward belt, and hopefully a reunion with her brother. Godspeed, Tala. What are you smiling at? Sol interrupts your thoughts. They've forced our hand. We have to leave now. Sol shakes his head. If we follow close enough behind, maybe they'll end up being our scouts anyway. I reckon any hostile spacers out there will give them a wide berth. Pilgrim Seed will need a little time to make our way out of the cordon, but I'm heading back now to get her started. Thankfully, the step ships are sticking with us, so we'll be plenty well supplied for the journey to the belt. He pauses. Anyway, I didn't plod all the way over here to tell you that. Sol looks between you and Peake with a raised eyebrow. It's now or never, Sleeper. I'm good to my word, and I kept a berth for you, but this is your last chance to take it. He scratches his beard. Make a call. You glance out at the flotilla beyond the bay, beautiful in the light of Helion's sun. You think of the long journey to the starward belt, of people inside the Pilgrim Seed, of the possible futures that await. Then you think of the people here on the Eye, of Peake beside you, of the Bonteon, of Tala, and the key that still hangs around your neck, of promises and possibilities. I'm staying. You open your mouth to speak and realize this is the final time you will make this choice. You have to be sure. I'm staying. You say the words, and the moment you do, the weight of all of it seems to descend upon you. You stumble a little, then stand straight, refusing to be crushed. You feel a tightness in your chest and a haze blurring your thoughts. Sol nods. Good luck, he sighs. You'll need it. He grips your shoulder and meets your eye, and the haze, his pitted and rough hands, feels so real, so detailed that it grounds you. And then it is gone, and Sol goes with it, quickly moving to the waiting shuttle. As he does, you watch, unable to speak, your whole body pulsing. And then another hand falls on your shoulder, and it grounds you once more. You turn to see Peake's bright eyes. Let's go, Sleeper. You nod, and seeing how unsteady you are on your feet, Peake puts an arm around you and steers you toward the entrance of the bay. As they do, you hear the roar, feel the wind. As the shuttle lifts off and angles towards the flotilla, you don't turn. Instead, you keep your head down and focus on each step. As you do, you feel Peake beside you, holding a little of your weight, and you holding a little of theirs. This is how it will be for many cycles after you both leave the bay and head back into the Eye. You will both hold on to things for each other, remind each other of the choices you made, remind each other why it's important to keep going despite the moments when it seems impossible. You'll keep each other going. That support will be vital when the second flux event hits the Eye, when it knocks the entire free spoke off the power grid, making the whole station lurch with a sickening motion, when it cripples systems and corrupts processes, leading sections of the station to go dark, or start venting oxygen, when holding on is all you can do, while the world seems to come apart around you. And yet, somehow, the Eye will persist. Systems will resist total collapse in ways that will seem inexplicable to many, but to you and Peake, they will signal the awakening of a new force within the station. The new force will bring with it new challenges and new possibilities in equal measure. Strange growths will be reported all around the station in the wake of the flux event, fungal crusts pushing through pipes and wiring. The Eye will go wild and fecund, becoming a station of increasing unpredictability, prone to a seasonal rhythm of spore clouds and sudden growth spurts. There will be a strange and unsettling beauty in this paradigm shift, as the greening of the station turns it from a corporate ruin to some altogether new assemblage of biological and mechanical structures. Riko will take on this challenge with energy that seems impossible for her age, and until her final day she will delight in the new mysteries of the Eye and its gardener produce. And as this new era consolidates around the station, you will find yourself in the bounty on those cycles, working to keep the place alive. The cycles where you invite Emphas to come make use of the kitchen will go from a one-off event to a regular occurrence, and soon the Bonteon will be filled with spacers eager to try the best preparations of the station's now abundant mushrooms. And on occasion, after a long shift at the Bonteon, you will hear the sound of the stray mewling, and you will crumble up some food and sit and watch the cat eat, as if it is the only thing in your world that matters. However, in all this newness, the bad old ways will still intrude. Senate Stat, frustrated by the Eye's resilience, will begin to send more physical threats, and supply ship and traders will suddenly stop arriving, stopped by a blockade of corporate militia. Life on the Eye will be punctuated by wide-channel broadcasts from Senate Stat, stating legal precedents and quoting deeds of ownership, staking a claim on the system. Meanwhile, Haven Age's hardliners will fizzle out, losing their grip on the Haven Age Council. In their wake, Helen will spearhead a series of reforms that will scale back Haven Age's overreach, returning them to the caretaker role they had always intended to fulfill. As the cycles roll on and the threats gather, new broadcasts will join them, sent by Conway Extractions, making counterclaims on assets within the Helion system, and many on the Eye will grow quiet, losing their appetite for debating these political machinations as they tilt inexorably towards a corporate war. And ever on the Eye will spin, growing now in strange ways, haunted by strange new growths, and hosting cultures of increasing resilience. As the Helion system descends into crisis, you find comfort in the fungal systems, the familiar conversations, the spices and smells that will accumulate around you as your body continues its unavoidable decay. They settle around you like a veil, and in time it will be impossible to see the Eye without seeing its many variants and versions, pasts and potential futures, and this masking of the world will mark your approaching end. And one cycle, far from now, that accumulation of memories, of tastes, of people and places and moments, will be the last thing you let go of. But for now, there's only you and Peake, arms around each other, walking slowly out of the bay, two figures born of crippled systems linked together, continuing, despite your origins. And in this frozen moment, you focus on only the next step, because that is the only way you have learned to persist. And to persist is to believe that a future, any future at all, is possible. Oh, what a gorgeous game. Oh my goodness, we're done! We beat the game! Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I'm gonna let the credits roll one more time because this is the last time we're gonna see them, and those episodes were amazing. Wow, what an ending. That was crazy. We got to see the return of so many new characters. Well, not new characters. We saw the new characters that we were introduced to last time. We saw a bunch of old characters leaving, coming back, trying to murder us and murder our friends. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. And you know, despite all of the questioning, I don't think there was ever a doubt in my mind that I would stay. Like, the Eye is our home. It has been. We've chosen to stay basically every time. And I couldn't leave Peake. Peake is my buddy, my best friend. I love them. And I couldn't leave them behind after Esh left. And hopefully the flotilla makes it where they want to go. Hopefully the singers can find their place in the world too. I hope Tala will be safe. I hope Riko passes on, you know, very gently. Like just a gentle sleep. And now we get to do what I wanted, which was run the Bonteon together and, you know, hang out with Emphas and be there for Peake. We're all together. We have our things, and through the struggles and the consequences of our actions, we'll still persist. We're together on this, and the Eye will survive. Maybe one day in the future it won't, but right now we're surviving, and we're gonna live with that. We're going to persist, just like we said, and that's really sweet, and I really like that ending. What a great game. Man, I'm so glad I finished this before the second one came out. Because now that we've finished this amazing, wonderful, beautiful game, I am going to be playing the demo. I don't know when I'm gonna record it. Probably, maybe tomorrow. I really want to play it before it goes off of Steam, because the demo is only up until the 21st of October, and it is the 15th when I'm recording this. So you may see it after the demo has already disappeared, or you may not. It depends on how much time I have and how fast I can edit this, but you will see the demo. I am going to play it. I have to, because I'm so excited for the second game. So we will wait and see when those come out, but until then, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. Remember to take care of yourself, remember to persist no matter what, and have a good day.